What's going on, Maddie? Welcome in, everyone. What did Tesla actually close at? What's going on, Gaston? Spider 4. You're still with Spy 442? Wait, when is that happening by? Like by Friday? Appreciate that, Maddie. Thanks for the mic check there. Gaston, when's that prediction by? I gotta get a deadline for that. I definitely need a deadline. What's up, Izzy? Izzy, I'm sure you have some weird stock that you're probably holding that no one probably even heard of. Gaston's always a bear. But welcome in, guys. Welcome in. Welcome in. As you guys actually heard, if you probably didn't see the alert, the announcement in Discord, Tom is actually going to be going live probably about a few minutes after I conclude here. We'll make it about a 20-minute session here today. And I know that he's going to be going over some chart requests. So far, he has quite a bit of names. And a lot of them actually seem like tech, Apple, Google, PayPal, Square. So if for any of you those are interested in those particular names, stay tuned for him when he sends out his message to join him on live. But I'll just give a quick recap of what happened today. And then I have a few tickets that I'm watching myself that I do see intriguing. But starting off pretty much just with earnings so far, it's just looking like a whipsaw right now for the most part. And I'm trying to figure out at this point is what's mega cap tech stock is really going to need to run so far. Because after we've already gotten Microsoft, we've already got in from Facebook. Netflix already had its run. And so right now it's kind of leaning towards what Amazon and Apple is going to do come Thursday. Because what's really going to lead in terms of tech, literally Tesla already got its run. Microsoft is the only one that I do see has potential to make a run at this point. Facebook literally got whipsawed. I actually tried to catch the reversal here on Facebook today. That didn't go so hot because it literally lost that level. And I actually put it on my Twitter, the 326. I tried to catch a reversal below that 326. That didn't work out too hot, but it hit my stop loss, so I got out of that. But hopefully everyone got paid on Tesla today. If you caught that a little early, and if you paid attention to my walkthrough on Tesla yesterday on the recap, hopefully someone caught that run up. If not, you caught the downside. The sad part I think is if you actually tried to get Tesla puts all the way at the top, it literally fell so fast that you probably got filled 3/4 of the way down if you hit a market order. That's literally how fast it fell. So that was literally just a whipsaw. And if you were trying to take profits, you probably didn't even get time to take profits at the top. That's how quickly that ended up happening. Appreciate that, Randy. But that was just hopefully the overview last night kind of guided you on what to look at. And I'll kind of give you that quick synopsis of that opening range in which I mentioned. And so I gave you guys a recap of pretty much what you wanted to look for. If you didn't catch that yesterday, you didn't catch Tesla today, then you pretty much know what to be looking for when you get those type of runners that just pretty much steamroll. Like we actually saw Amazon do that today. I was not expecting that at Amazon. It was up about $80 pre-market. It ended up giving back, I think, about 3/4 of that entire move by the market open, and then it just shot out of the gate. So unless you chased Amazon, it was pretty hard to get into Amazon. I know that Avery was actually trying to get into it, and he was waiting for a pullback that pretty much never happened. So I don't think he ended up getting in at all. But let's just move on here. Let's cover a few things, and then we'll get into what tickers I actually have highlighted. But not much movement on the S&P 500 as far as directional movement. It does look like we kind of are getting a reversal candle here, in which case we're going to get a pullback. I know that Avery also put on the newsletter, I don't know if he's already updated DEFCON, but he is expecting a pullback, in which case it's expected to be a wave 4 pullback, in which we do have wave 1, 2. This is wave 3 expected to be completed at this point in time. Do we have another leg higher? It's entirely possible come tomorrow. But now we're looking for that pullback here on wave 4 is what Avery actually has projected. And so I do have two stops that I'm going to look at on the way down. I'm looking around 45.50 on S&P 500. And then I'm also looking at this range right here, which actually coincides with the previous high, in which we're looking within the range of 45.29 down to about 45.16. So I'm going to look for that range to see if we catch any support. If we end up losing this level 45.49, that'll be a bounce zone for me before the continued downtrend, continuing that wave 4 down, in which my next level support will be around 44.89. So that's really what I'm waiting for. The one thing I will say, also highlighting the reversal here now, would be that you definitely want to have a light position overnight. Don't try to get too many positions holding. Pretty much, I've seen people hold like $13,000 positions, and that's pretty much about 75% of their entire portfolio. Don't do that to yourself, because you're gonna wake up one morning and you're literally just gonna get whipsawed. So at least get some hedges, keep it light. I definitely pretty much preach at least get a hedge. That would be pretty much the least that you can do. I know that Avery actually got a hedge on his positions tonight. So even as though we know what we're doing, it feels like that. We definitely want that security, even as experienced traders. So I just want to highlight that also. But that's my ranges for S&P 500. As far as NASDAQ futures here, again, not much changes as well, but we did wick off of my top fib that I have here, and we pretty much just melted right back down. And so looking at support levels, I'm looking at 15,462 to retrace. And then if we continue to further retrace, then I'm looking at 52.74. And so those are the key levels I'm going to be watching. That was definitely a nice, beautiful top, wicked right off the fib, and then ended up rejecting. So that's what I'll keep my eye on. I expect a very slow bleed if that be the case tomorrow. I think the market's really going to wait on Amazon and Apple to really show more weakness, because they do want to hear what Amazon and Apple, the two darlings of the market, for you want to say that they want to hear how their struggles have been, other than the other companies that have already reported earnings. Okay, so let's dive into a few different things here. I did mention I was going to show you the opening range here for Tesla again, which I pretty much showed you yesterday. But this little green line at the top of the bottom pretty much shows you your opening range. Right where the dotted line is, that's the opening candle that we had on the 3 minute. And I typically like it to look at the 3 minute when I'm pretty much looking for a nice runner out of the gate here, because it gives me a little bit more fluidity, a little more candles to look at in terms of determining the top range and the bottom range. And so as you saw, we pretty much, the bodies actually held the bottom range here. If you push that right against the wick and the bodies of those two candles, so we had an identified bottom. And then I drew a line literally just across the opening high range. And once we ended up breaking that to this candle right here, that was your opportunity to get in on Tesla calls right there. So your entry was over 1049. That was your entry right there to get into calls on Tesla today. Now, if this candle went too fast for you, you couldn't get a fill, then that was the next candle literally gave you that retracement, that pullback. So you had ample amount of opportunity to get into that position. But again, the opening range high, the opening range low is what you want to pay attention to. If it would have broke the opening range low, then that would have been for puts. Now that it opened up against the high of the range, then that's when it would have been calls. So that's just, I just want to make sure I emphasize that again. So that's how you would have known to actually get in directionally which way to enter on Tesla there. But we had a beautiful move. I ended up getting into puts right around, I actually scalped twice on puts. I got in somewhere right around this range when we broke down here. I had a key level support that I just drew across right here. And once we ended up breaking that key level support right around this candle here, across that green line, that's when I actually scalped for puts. I think I got about a 10-15% move on that. And then I also got in close to the end of the day here. You probably heard me, Dapper, and Avery talking about puts into the end of the day there, looking at key levels for it to flush. And so I am holding one put on Tesla. I'm not risking it more. So I did end up holding one Tesla put. We'll see what it does tomorrow. But I do expect further downside in which we end up retracing under 1K on Tesla here. You swing Wait, which way did you actually swing it? To the upside or the downside? I'm assuming you got puts. That's just an assumption though, but I'm just assuming that. So I will dive in. Uh, yeah, I am still in Lulu. I know that that's probably actually hurting the small account. I, the only reason I didn't get out is because obviously because it's hurting the small account, but at the same time, the pattern's still in play. So, and with the direction of the market that I'm expecting, it's gonna coincide with the move that I'm expecting. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. Worst case scenario, we pretty much blow up the account and I restart at this moment. It is what it is. But hopefully you guys actually had a stop loss. I know that it probably wicked out your stop loss because it popped up like $4 or $5. It is what it is at this point. I thought the pattern was pretty much just textbook. As you saw, it was a beautiful rising wedge. It just didn't happen to go the way that we wanted it, and that's literally how patterns are. Not every pattern works into the favor of you. So you're gonna see patterns break down, and it just so happens that I didn't actually apply my stop loss because of pretty much how much is left in the account. So we'll see what it does by the end of the week. I do expect it to be up by the end of the week, so I'm not necessarily worried myself. But those of you that actually got into the play, you should have had a stop loss. I hope that everyone obeyed by their stop loss. Okay. Moving on real quick, we've covered I think like 6 tickers that I have here. I kind of tried to avoid a little bit of tech here because I don't want to get in the middle of what may be a slaughter going into tomorrow. But I do have a few different stocks that I'm going to keep an eye on, maybe potential swings that I may be looking at to avoid what may end up happening to the tech sector. But looking at wind, this is one of them. We have a nice little, I think it looks a little better on the 4 hour. More fluidity there. Yeah, so we had a nice little descending channel right here. I'm going to look for this one. We got that nice little pop out of the resistance area. That's really the key there. And so I'm looking to see a follow through on this breakout of the resistance. And I do feel like my support is actually crooked on this. Yes, it was. All right, so I straightened that out. But I'm looking for a follow through. As we saw that one wick that went out there today, I want to see a nice little follow through. We should get right into this gap fill that's right here. So entering that gap over 95.50, I'm going to look for that beautiful move right there. And then that'll be a nice range up to 99.70 where we complete that gap. So it'll be about close to about a $4 move potentially if we get a nice continuation out of this break from resistance. So this is just one avoiding the tech sector. This is pretty much should be a fluid play if we get that continuation. All right. So I'll keep an eye on that one tomorrow. I actually wanted to highlight Expedia. I don't know, for those of you that are actually in chat, we actually had a beta testing call for Expedia that went out to like the middle of next month. And so we also saw another one that actually ended up paying out very heavily for earnings. And it literally just dropped about 30 something dollars. And that was one of our alerts from our testing group as well. So I just wanted to advise everyone, I do not want anyone playing earnings. I would not expect anyone to play earnings. If you are playing, it's completely a lotto. You are completely financially responsible. But I do expect Expedia to actually bounce back. You could actually end up playing the run up. And this is what I wanted to highlight is that it broke the descending channel. We had a nice little ascending triangle. We broke down. And the reason why I say it's going to bounce is because this is a very key level of support that you see in this gray line, which if I probably change it to orange, it looks a little more brighter here. It wicked right off of the support level. And so that's what I'm looking for. I may end up looking into this play here for a potential run up in which we're going to see a nice little reversal that's already taking place. So I will look for this one. It should be a nice play on that. I don't know if I'm going to play earnings myself. I highly doubt it. If if I do end up playing it, I probably will risk only $100 on it if that be the case. But beautiful setup going into the earnings. Beautiful bounce right off the key support level. So I can't ask for a better setup than that for a nice run up. So that one's definitely to keep an eye on it. I expect that one to be green tomorrow, and you could definitely day trade it if be. All right. This one is completely out of my realm, which I don't typically play these kind of stocks, but ExxonMobil actually looks like a beautiful one here also. You have a nice little megaphone action going on. Oh, Tamakazi's here. Should have played CVS. Not happening. But actually, I'd rather play Exxon than play CVS. I don't know why. But you have a nice little megaphone here on Exxon. I actually like the little breakout that it had out of what I would say is a little bit of a rising channel, if you want to say. But we had a nice little breakout. I'm going to look to actually make this play right up to the resistance here, in which we're going to get a nice little decent move here up to 68. So this could potentially be a day trade likely tomorrow if this actually holds up as I'm expecting it to. And so if tech is actually going to show some weakness, we're going to get some strength in other areas. And Exxon may be one of those areas that I turn to. So that's why I did want to highlight that if you see the tech sector for whatever reason bleeding out tomorrow, then you want to look in different areas. So that's why when Exxon, those type of names do come into play. So I will look for this one. We'll see if we get to move up to 68, and that'll be just pretty much a quick day trade for me. Another one I'll highlight, and I know that Avery probably has his eyes set on this one very heavily, is Airbnb. This is just a beautiful ascending channel. It bounced right off of support here just the other day. And so we kind of want to get a little bit of a breakthrough on the resistance level here. I want to see this get over about that 172.60 level. And then that'll be a nice follow through that I can jump into for the upside. But I want to see it get over 172.60. Hopefully we can break that area and hold, and then that'll be a beautiful swing here. I know that there's been heavy call buying on Airbnb for the past few days. They've been going out literally to like the 180, 190 strikes for mid next month. So this would be a beautiful one if I can get a swing. I may end up getting spreads on it just to limit the risk and also avoid data. I do plan to swing it for quite a few days. So I will look into this one and I want to see it break over that 172.60 area. We'll keep an eye on that one tomorrow. I just wanted to highlight AMD. This one actually had earnings today. It was actually pretty flat. It was actually one that I really liked going into earnings. I was expecting a better follow through. It popped up to like $2 in gains, and then I think it gave it all back pretty much. But I do want to see if we actually get a follow through. That's been pretty much the problem with Facebook. Other than that, Tesla had a good follow through after a flat earnings, and then Netflix had a good follow through after their flat earnings. So is AMD gonna try and continue that? Other than Facebook, that pretty much wet the bed and dropped. I want to see if AMD is going to show any strength here because they did have calls going out to the 130 strike for earnings. So I do want to see if there's any strength that's going to be showing here tomorrow. Maybe this one has some kind of continuation on it. But if we end up losing support, I'm pretty much looking at 120. Under 120, then we're risking downside to 114. So that's what I'll be looking for. Don't know if I'll necessarily be shorting it for that matter, because I know AMD still has relative strength and so does Nvidia along running side by side. So I'll look to see if I end up doing it as a day trade if I do short it. But I'm looking for that upside here because I do see this getting back to that 125, 126 level if we can see a decent follow through in this name, in which maybe some tech names actually do have strength, like Microsoft, which I also do expect to have some strength tomorrow also. So that one's on the radar. And then last one was AFRM. Just wanted to highlight this one. I know that Julian actually mentioned it on live today because I believe he was actually short on it. I don't know if he actually had a position or was just watching it. But this one actually broke down very nicely. And I know that Tay was very high on this one also just the other day when it was actually trying to push up. And it got up to that high of like 165.94. Well, we ended up breaking down here today. That was a pretty massive red candle that we had. So we're getting a nice little retest on that support, and I expect continuation of the downside. I'm targeting about 140 on this downside if we get that kind of push, that kind of selling pressure. We saw what happened to UPST after that one actually ended up breaking down. If I actually show UPST, we had, I think, a broadening wedge that was going up on that one. Yeah, so similar situation here. We ended up breaking the support. Massive kill candle, if you want to say that. We'll likely get a nicer bounce going into tomorrow after it dropped like 46 points today. I think that was the peak. So we'll get a nice little retest. We'll probably fill right back up to maybe about, say, 340-ish, if that be the case, if it can get up there, which I kind of doubt it gets all the way that high. But we'll get a nice little bounce. It could end up bouncing only to about 336 and then continuing the downtrend. So those two, you definitely want to see names that are high flying like that. AFRM, UPST, they've just been high flying names the past few weeks. And so once they end up breaking down, you see how pretty much volatile that is, dropping about 40 something dollars in a day. If you caught that from the top, insanely crazy. So AFRM, we'll keep a watch on that one. I expect further downside. So potentially about $11 move down. So that'll be a beautiful one to catch there. But other than that, we'll see what the market does for us tomorrow. I think tech is really going to be on high alert tomorrow. Being that Amazon already pushed up, 80 something odd dollars today. Tesla's on showing its weakness. Microsoft could be the lone gainer with AMD potentially. But everything else is pretty much in retracement as far as big name tech stocks. And so it's going to be interesting tomorrow. We'll see if there's any rotation that takes place. I know that there should be rotation going into growth names also, so that's something to keep a watch on. We should see those kind of names like the Ubers and the Chewies of all the lives. So we'll see rotation probably go into those kind of names. And I'm just going to wait a little bit longer before I try to get into any entries on those. But other than that, I think that wraps up tonight's session, guys. I I'll see what my Tesla does by morning. Hopefully we gap down. I think it's been a while since we actually saw futures red. I think I've gone literally about over a week now just seeing green features pretty much. And so it's actually a very nice sight. NASDAQ's not even down that much. We're only down about 12 points. That's literally flat to me. But that'll be all. Let me see what you guys mentioned. AMD is forming inverse head and shoulders. Wait, you said AMD is forming inverse head and shoulders? I do have to look at that. I mean, if I am watching that ticker, I definitely have to be aware of that. Inverse head and shoulders. Let me see where do you see that at. Okay, I think you're talking about this right here. I'm assuming you're talking about this price action, which it kind of did drop out. So I kind of think that pattern failed just a bit, or it's a little bit stretched. But I see why he would say that. I think he actually meant to say it right up until this point. If I draw the line, he meant to say that was an inverse head and shoulders from the left side of that orange line, in which that's the left shoulder, that's the head, and that's the right shoulder. But then it ended up either stretching to the downside here, in which it's a longer shoulder, or it invalidated. So that'll be that. Other than that, guys, I'll wrap up the session tonight. You guys can actually go chart out with Tom. So he actually is planning to be on live up to 3 hours until he finds a 1000% gainer. So once he announces that, if you guys can just tag me because I'll probably be sleeping. And then I'll wait for the 1000% gainer in the morning so I can get in. And if it is CVS, do not tag me, do not message me. I don't even want to know about it actually if it is CVS. Because knowing Tom is probably going to be CVS as his 1000% gainer, which is already up probably about 300%. But other than that, guys, again, I'll let you guys go. Tom should be on, I would assume, probably sometime within the next 30 minutes or so, 30, 45 minutes or so. And he'll chart out with you guys. I know he's going to go through quite a bit of tech stocks, which for those of you that are interested in tech stocks, he'll give you the layout there. And hopefully he can give you some insight into Amazon and Apple earnings. I would say that I want to know about that, but do I want to stay up that late and watch it? Such a grandpa? Izzy, you really want to talk, you know that? I don't know, do I really want to watch Tom chart out Merck and CVS? Nah, not really. I know he's probably going to touch those stocks. I really don't want to look at them. They kind of hurt my eyes. But again, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. You guys have a good night. I'll meet you guys on live tomorrow. All right. Hopefully, Tom does not bore you guys to death. And do not look at CVS and let him brainwash you about that. All right. You guys have a good night, okay?